To my podcast about sports, about sports, about sports.
Bop. Howdy, Ags from the Tailgate, home of Aggie Football. Here we are talking Aggie Football with C Money. What's up, Corey?
Hey, buddy.
Today's the show is brought to you by Matthews Electric, full service electrical contractor in the Brazos Valley. No job too big, no job too small. Call Blaine at 979-220-6403. Light up your home. Light up your
Light up your life.
Folks, don't forget to email us at agstailgate@gmail.com or make comments on the YouTube. Subscribe. Today's rundown, we're going to do a little bit of wrap up on Mississippi State, a preview Florida, and go around college football. Corey, you got a comment today on the YouTuber this week. It says, Giga Maggies. How about that game this past weekend? What's up, Corey? Whoop, whoop. Ram.
Good old Ram, man. Haven't seen that guy in forever. Hope he's like in retirement.
Hoping he's enjoying the podcast.
Hell yeah.
A little news and notes. Aggies up to number 5 in both polls, both the AP and the coaches. So there you go.
Nice.
Lots of rat poison there. Still a lot of games to play.
Yeah, big ones.
Man, you talked about this a little bit earlier. SEC Mike for that SEC podcast has the Aggies at number 7 in his power rankings behind Bama, Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Mizzou, and Vandy. I think that's dumb, and it sort of takes away from any credibility that he has over there. You know, they did a good job at times early on in that process, and I listened to that podcast just to get certain information, but now as they've grown some more, the podcast, one, the information is not as good, and two, they've got, clickbait crap like this going on out there. So
yeah. So say that again. Alabama. We don't play Alabama. We don't play Georgia. Who else?
the only one we play is Mizzou, by the way.
That's it.
Yeah.
So those rankings will be skewed the whole season because we don't play them unless we make the championship game.
Yeah, but if you were to look at head-to-head matchups with other teams, for example, Tennessee went to overtime with Mississippi State. I think we dominated Mississippi State. I mean, you want to look at some of the things that you would probably evaluate in order to make these decisions. I don't think they're looking very good for SEC Mike.
Where'd they have Tennessee ranked?
3rd or 4th. I don't know. I don't have them in order, I don't think.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk a little Mississippi State, 31-9. This game was 7-3 at the half, Corey. Ends up 31-9. Look, they pretty much dominated. First half, I think, penalties and different things and turnover and different things that kind of just
the goal line stand.
Goal line stance there by Mississippi State. But the Aggies pretty much dominated this game, the entire game. And let's start with the Aggie defense because I think that they really set the tone in this one. Man, I just thought they were excellent. And really the reason that the Aggies won the game because of the fact that, Mississippi State didn't do anything. It allowed that defense basically allowed that offense to twiddle their thumbs for almost 3 quarters, right? It didn't, we didn't start scoring until really just right before the 4th quarter almost. I'm just super, super impressed with what Elko has done with this defense in the last couple of weeks, some of the adjustments and changes that he's made since Notre Dame. 219 total yards in this game, 142 passing, 77 rushing. They were 1 of 10 on 3rd down conversions. They had 2 turnovers with a fumble and an interception. Linebackers are all of a sudden playing fast and downhill and aggressive. York and Sanford, both excellent games. Just ridiculously good. Corey, what do you think? This defense, we were talking about it early in the year as, they had some issues, some big issues. Man, this past weekend, they looked impressive.
Very impressive. To my recollection, all I remember is one big play Mississippi State had in the first half. The guy probably could have scored, but he tripped. I saw that. I remember that one. Then I remember that one drive of 75 yards, I think, in 4 plays. where I think it was who got beat. Ricks got beat on a long touchdown pass. But other than that, it our their offense. I mean, I didn't think Mississippi State's offense was that great coming in. We shut down the run pretty much. We thought they were a good running team, but that got shut down. Our defensive backs, except for that one play, from what I remember, they played good defense. I mean, our safeties were coming up making plays. Brooks made a lot of plays. Linebackers, like you said, I mean, they're keeping their heads up. They're making the offense react to what they're doing instead of vice versa, what we're used to seeing, where we react to what they do. And I think that's genius for Velco. We've been saying that for years because of the talent level we have in those areas. They can get after the quarterback. Quarterback's going to make mistakes. We saw it. Turnovers. I mean, all of it. I mean, the quarterback from Mississippi State's a good quarterback, but you can't do much when you have that kind of pressure. Ask Arch Manning. He can't do much when you can't have time to see your receivers.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and I think a couple of those adjustments we talked about, right? One, we've said it all along, right? Less of the dropping those defensive ends into coverage, especially on early rundowns, right? Some of the twists and turns in the defensive line, a lot less of that, especially early in those rundowns, allowing us to really hold up inside with those adjustments. But the other piece is that they've gotten those linebackers, they've sort of simplified things. They're starting to bring a safety down earlier, right? So a lot of times previously, you'd see those guys with the safety all the way back, and then he would be rolling down at the snap of the ball and now having to run 15, 20 yards to try to get to this play. Well, they're bringing him
Yep.
in. It's almost like he's playing a linebacker spot, and he's able to get to that play and do those things earlier on in the play. So, it's helped with our contain. It's helped with our ability to get to the run a little bit quicker, man. And those linebackers, so and I'm going to include the safeties because you go look at Brooks a bunch, and on Saturday, man, he was playing down in the box. I mean, they were just triggering and going. I mean, it was impressive how fast they got downhill and attacked those gaps, man. And honestly, you didn't see a lot of while sometimes we look at this defense earlier on in the year, you just see these gaping holes, right? And you just didn't see a lot of that this past week.
No.
I mean, and good tackling, by the way.
Yeah. Very impressive, man. Not a lot of missed tackles. Like I said, I mean, I only remember 2 or 3 plays the whole game where Mississippi State looked like they had figured something out, but that's about it.
Look, and another thing that they're doing, they're those linebackers, instead of leaving them in coverage a lot of, they're bringing them in blitzes, right? And so look, that's bringing pressure. Sanford's second on the team in sacks with 3, right? He's he's in the top, I don't know, 10 or 15 in the entire SEC, right? He's only been playing the last 3 games. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely. The guy, I think did he have did he pick up a fumble or intercept? I can't remember what he did.
he
He
had
did
an
something.
interception. He had an interception and a sack this past weekend, right?
Yeah. And the guy was second team pretty much until Scooby went out. But hey,
Yeah, unbelievable. I think that's the biggest thing for these guys that they've gotten so much faster up front. I think simplifying some of the things that they were doing has allowed these guys to do that, and it's really covered up the mistakes that they were having earlier on. Look, you brought up Brooks. I'll add Ratcliffe to that mix. Both of those safeties right now are playing as good as they've played since they've been Aggies, right?
right.
That might have been the best game both of those guys played. Ratcliffe even had, an opportunity on, had some coverage, some good coverage pieces on that. I mean, I'm impressed with what those guys, how they've grown over the season, and hopefully will continue to do so.
And now that I think about it, that touchdown that Mississippi State scored, I think a lot of our defense was on the bench.
Yeah.
I remember seeing York on the sideline.
Yeah.
That kid's really turned his season around after, I guess it was the Auburn game he played real well. This game he's played well. I mean, he looks a lot faster after we talked about him looking slow a couple of weeks ago. I think Notre Dame was probably his worst game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that part of that is some of that simplification, right? He's just able to go, right? Not thinking
Yeah.
all the time. just able to go simplify, be aggressive. It's been a big difference in the defensive performance the last couple of weeks. Look, how even when he's not rushing, like even again, like last year, everybody talked about how is it not any good against the run, yada yada. Look, that dude is physical, man, and he has been dominating, dominating. I don't know why anybody ever drops that dude in the coverage because he is so good and so dominant up against those offensive linemen. He'll bull rush them. He'll go around them. I mean, he's impressive, man, and I'm super stoked to continue to watch that dude play the rest of the season. He's our best defensive player.
I agree. He's fast. He's quick. I think he might be a linebacker at the next level, but he's just because he's not. I don't think he's big enough, but he's definitely got the speed, quickness, and instincts. Man, the guy's got instincts to get to the quarterback, and you just can't teach that.
Look, at the next level, maybe he's an outside linebacker in a 3-4 type of look, playing in the kind of that Von Miller role that in the NFL, right? Where,
Yeah.
he's stand-up guy and doing those things. I mean, I really impressed with the dude. I think he's a player, man. I think he's a player. And you can tell how much he's worked at his craft and his body and the things that he's done in order to get into shape and in the point to do what he's doing right now. Leads the SEC in sacks by far, like by far. He's got 7 already this season, 2 games with 3. Like he needs to continue to produce those numbers, but man, there's a chance he's gonna end up leading the country in sacks this year if they continue to bring him, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's gonna make some money pretty soon. If he's not
Hey,
already.
Shaw and Chappelle both got some playing time there at the nickel. Obviously, those guys, are much better cover guys than we had anywhere near last year, right? They've allowed these guys in the secondary to play a lot of man with the 2 outside corners and Dez and Lee. I thought Dez and Lee had their best games combined yesterday, even though Dez did give up that one big play. But I think as a combined effort, I thought those 2 guys had their best game, and Shaw and Chappelle also had a big piece of that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure what happened to Chappelle. He missed out for a little bit of the game, but I mean, dude, that guy's a nickel. I mean, he might be the best nickel in the nation.
Yeah, I've been super impressed. And obviously, it just allows them to do so much more with regards to their safeties, right? Because of the fact that they've got cover guys out there that they can put on these wide receivers. And so then he can play all his games on third down, bringing the safety. A couple of times bringing those safeties on the outside, really, really did a good job of getting pressure doing that. I just think that they can do that because of these 3 guys that they've got playing in coverage, right? This is probably as good of coverage as we've seen from this Aggie defense under Mike Elko as the head coach than we've seen in the 2 years, right? Right now, this is
Right.
as good as it has been. And I thought Saturday probably the best game they've played so far in coverage.
Well, that's what we've been saying beginning of the season. That was our strength on this team was the defensive backs, and it's showing. And now the D line's catching up to what we were hoping they'd be. I mean, Ricks is starting to play better. To has been very impressive as a transfer.
Great
Howell's
call.
been great.
Great
Regis was
call.
kind of quiet, but he's always been consistent.
Yeah, I thought
So
Regis had probably his least productive day this past weekend. We saw a lot more of Hicks and T.O. in there, but Regis is still a solid contributor up front. I mean, and like you said, those guys have gotten better and better. They're kind of quietly just doing their job, right? Just quietly doing their job.
and that's something we never said years ago when a different coaching staff was here that players were getting better as the season went on. It was like we were expecting them to, we just never saw it happen.
All right, so defensive player of the game, what do you think?
Man, I mean, there's a lot of options. I mean, I was really impressed with Brooks. The guy was everywhere. I mean, he got a pick, I believe, or was it a fumble? I think they ended up calling it a fumble recovery, but I don't think the ball ever hit the ground. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Either way,
Yeah, Brooks is a good call on that. Obviously, you could go
he was
straight to
everywhere.
9 tackles, a
Sanford,
sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a pick. I mean, that's a
yeah,
pretty good. That's a pretty good stat line. And then obviously Howell with the 3 sacks. I mean, can't go wrong there. I mean, any one of those guys is a good pick. They're a defensive player of the game. I don't know if I would almost go Sanford as the biggest impact guy there. I just thought he was all over the field all the time, just playing downhill.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, any one of those guys is a good pick, and it's good to have three different guys that you can choose from. No doubt. We didn't
Oh,
even mention
yeah. I mean,
York.
this might be even more players we're not thinking of. Ratcliffe had a good game.
York.
I mean, you said Shaw and Chappelle. I mean, it's just the list goes on and on.
Hey, so the A&M offense, 483 yards, still very productive, 180 passing, 303 yards rushing. Pretty darn impressive on the ground. Look, Le'Veon gets banged up. Has 142 yards at 6.8 per carry. Uh, just absolutely comes and has his, not even close, right? This is his best game, like by far as an Aggie. The dude carried this team, this offense throughout the day, right? I mean, this was the Owens show on Saturday.
No, Owens did great, but you got to give a lot of credit to that offensive line because
True that.
Owens isn't a banger like Moss is. Owens, he'll see a hole and it takes him a little bit of time to get to it, but those holes are there. If they weren't there, Owens wouldn't have got 140 something yards rushing, whatever the hell it was. But it was impressive. I've been expecting that from him since last year.
Yeah, I did think, and we talked about it before the game. I thought that we matched up well offensive line wise against this front, and we have an opportunity to get some big holes going in there, and it showed, right? Like you said, Owens had the opportunity to do that, um, and did create. There was a few times they didn't touch him for 10 yards, right? I mean, it was
Yeah,
it
he
was,
was.
it was, it was pretty good blocking up front. You got to give a lot of credit to the offensive line and the group of tight ends. Receivers as well, blocking, but the offensive line specifically, right? And I'll tell you this, then you get Craver with 2 runs for 35 yards and a touchdown. You get Reed with 30 yards and a touchdown. You get Morrow with 30 yards on 5 attempts, right? Moss sat in there and he had his whatever yards that were in there. Like they've got different guys that they're getting the ball, doing a good job scheme wise of using those wide receivers for I haven't, which we haven't done much this year, but using both of those guys in the running game with KC and Mario. And so, you know, I think that just expands the different options that you have and the different things that defenses have to prepare for. And it also allows you to do a lot of misdirection in order to open up holes for those running backs. So I like what they did on Saturday with the running game, and I hope that they continue to do that um, going forward. You said it, offensive line, man, great job by them. I'll tell you, going back and looking at it, and I want to talk about this goal line stand. If you go back and look at that goal line stand, we get down there to the 1 and they run it, and go look at it. They run the power to the left, right? So the left side's supposed to block down. They're pulling the backside guard in and around along with one of they had the fullback getting in there, and it's a great goal line play. It's awesome. They do a great job. They did, and they got good movement. But what happened? Chase Besantis, who was supposed to block down, pulled right into the other pulling guard.
Yep.
You want to know why we didn't score? There's your reason.
Yeah, they almost ran into each other. Didn't they run into each other?
They
Chase the
did
other
run into
guard?
each other, and we still almost scored on that play. But it's hard to do when two of your offensive linemen are basically blocking each other, right?
It, oh, yeah.
If he does right on that one, I think we score on that play easily. And then on the fourth down play, you get Reed there, and he gives it. He could have pulled it. Man, that tight end was wide open on the back of the end zone. A pull and a little toss over the top, and that's a touchdown. They had a couple of different things that they could have done there to score, and I think you'll see some diversification there on the goal line going forward because they cannot miss out on those opportunities. It's just hard to do, right? Hard to make up for that.
Right. But like they said on the telecast, it's the first time we've been stopped in the red zone all year, I believe. I'll tell you, I mean, the only other thing I can say about the offense that was negative, I mean, Marcel didn't play his best game, but the
Yeah, we'll talk
penalties,
Marcel here in a second.
the penalties are just killing me. They're still, it's not as bad as it was the week before, but it's still not.
Especially in the first half.
God, just yeah, it's like every
Um,
game. We had 9
look,
penalties for the game. I don't know how many of them were offense.
yeah. Look, and good job by Mario and KC again. Mario 60 for 80, 4 for 61 for KC, but 2 touchdowns. Those numbers don't look, just phenomenal, but I thought they were pretty good production and had some opportunities for some other plays. If Marcel has a little bit better game, look, not, I am the biggest Marcel proponent out there, right? Have been since throughout the offseason, even going into last year, at the beginning of last year, right? So, but right now he is just off, right? Lots of misreads on Saturday, easy check downs, but he's forcing into double coverage a couple of times, or he's, he's thrown into a safety that's 20 yards deep from the at the snap and backing up at the snap, and he's trying to throw deep on it. Like, it's just not a good read on those types of things. And if you go look at the play, he's got a back or a tight end wide open underneath, like just sitting there with 10 yards to run, right? And so, and especially on these first and second down throws, like, take the easy hit, man. Just take the yards and do your thing. Those deep throws are going to come if you continue to do that, right? If you take the underneath things, if you do those things to make sure that coverage has to come down, now all of a sudden those deep ones will come back later. You know what I mean? It seems like he's
Yeah,
forcing and looking at KC and Mario too much and never looking away to the other guys that sometimes have been pretty much wide open.
and I believe a lot of his passes should have been completed if he just put a little bit more touch on them and not standing right beside a guy and he throws 100 miles an hour. It seems like to Burkitcher or whoever it was. It's either Burkitcher or
I think it was Theo.
Theo.
That
Yeah,
seam
dude,
seam
Theo.
throw to Theo.
Yeah, it's like he just threw it right above his head, and it's just
Oh,
you got to be
well,
careful. That's where the interceptions are going to come from is the overthrows.
the overthrow was he overthrew Theo on the seam, and that was the interception that he threw.
Yeah,
And then yeah, you're right. There was another one where he went up and he had and it was high. He had a chance. He probably still could, had a chance to catch it, but boy, he's firing them up there and high. And like you're right, that oftentimes leads to a pick, right? Um, and at the time he's got a wide open guy underneath, and a lot of the times what's happening is because they're trying to hit the big play, they are 7-man protecting, right? So they're keeping the back and the tight end to protection. And then when, because Mississippi State wasn't necessarily bringing the heat all the time, they were backing it out a lot of times. Those guys would slip out into their check down and we're wide open, right? Instead of, sitting there and forcing the play deep, hey, just go look at it, boom, let him go get 7, 8, 10, 15 yards. And, those guys, it's not like you got bad athletes there, they can make people miss and make a play too. So I think he's got to get that under control. I think he can. Right now he's sort of fallen in love with the Mario and KC situation and all the big plays, and it's like, all right, it's all right. Let's bring him back a little bit, right?
and that's the thing. I mean, defenses are going to start focusing on Rio and KC, which isn't a bad thing if he targets Bussy or Bethel Roman or
Absolutely,
whoever. I mean, he
absolutely.
should. Those guys, I'm expecting Bussy to have a huge game coming up if Rio and KC are getting double teamed.
Yeah, yeah, and not to mention the backs coming out of the backfield and the tight ends, right? I mean, but yeah, just and keep distributing because it'll come back the other way, right? You start hitting those guys, all of a sudden the defenses adjust to try to take that stuff away, and then you've got them over the top again with the big play. So, you know,
Absolutely.
learning process for a young quarterback. So, offensive MVP, what do you think?
No, it's got to be Owens. I mean, 100 and some yards. And, I
Yeah,
mean, KC had a good game. Rio, they've been doing great. But yeah, like you said, he's got to start dispersing the ball more. We only threw the ball 23 times for the game, and we ran the ball 51 times. Wow. When's the
yeah.
last time we did that?
Oh
That's
man,
impressive.
when you run it for 303, man, you keep on doing it, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Damn, that's impressive.
A couple of things that I noticed too. So the penalty thing, especially in the first half, it came up, right? And so he benched Naboo for a false start, and took him out of the game.
Yeah.
And then at some point, hey, Father, got his first action of the season, and looked good in some limited snaps in there as well. So I was happy to see that. I think they can obviously going forward, they can implement him into that rotation as well. But and there was a time in there after a penalty. I think they took Reed Adams out of the game, and he was out for a while for a couple of series, right? And so he's one of the things that they're doing about these penalties is that hell, they're just taking the guys off the field because you know what? They got enough of them, right?
Yeah, they got a ton. What about did Crown ever have any penalties?
I thought Cranover played a pretty clean game on Saturday, actually. Yeah.
That's the first one.
We did
Good.
see we did see a group in there with Fothery at left tackle and Zune at center. Looked good. That offensive line looked good with Zune at center, Fothery left tackle, Crownover right tackle. So, they did some different things there and were able to move the ball and stay pretty clean on those things.
All right. Yeah.
Hey, coming up Saturday, Corey, look, hey, you win this one, and it's just another big game coming up, right? Every time you win, there's another big game right after because when you got your goal is to go to the SEC championship, to go to the playoffs, you have to just keep on winning, right? And well, Florida comes to Kyle Field, 6 p.m. on ESPN, A&M favored by 7.5, 46.5 over under. Florida coming off of a big win over TU on Saturday in the Swamp. Now,
Is it really that big a win?
yeah, yeah,
Eh, eh.
yeah. I'll be honest, right? Texas didn't look great, right?
No, they didn't.
The
Nothing. I mean,
defense,
the
the defense
defense.
didn't
Somebody,
look great.
somebody kept telling me how good this Texas defense is, and I kept going. You
That was
sure?
me. That was
Yeah.
me.
Are you sure they're good? Oh man, they're really good. They're really good defense. I was like, hey
Yeah,
man. I
Florida
mean,
kind of punked
Florida,
them. Florida kind of punked them.
Florida has struggled against South Florida, struggled against LSU,
Yeah,
struggled against Miami.
yeah,
Those teams aren't bad. Don't get me wrong.
yeah. They
But
were 1 and
Texas,
3. They were 1 and 3 going into that game, right? They're 2 and 3 now.
yeah, but Texas, this great defense gives up 29.
Yeah.
Dude, all right, go ahead.
No, I'm with
I
you,
just want to
man.
bring,
I'm
I just
with
want to
you.
bring that up because somebody just kept saying, "Man, it's a good defense, good defense."
I did say it. I did say it. That's
Oh,
a good defense. And so, you know,
that's what he
look,
sounds like right there. That's what he sounds like.
Florida's 2 and 3 now. They're scoring about 23.4 points per game, which is 100th in the country. They're giving up 17, which is 26, right? So that defense for Florida
Wait,
has
wait a
played
second. Hold on. You said they're averaging how many points a game?
23.4.
All right, they beat Long Island 55-0. You take that away, what are they averaging? They ain't averaging shit. They
Yeah.
scored 29 against Texas. That's it. They scored 7 against Miami, 10 against Florida, LSU, and 16 against South Florida. Sorry, I just wanted to let
Yeah.
people know
No, no, no. That number is
stats.
skewed. That number is skewed
Yes.
for sure. And but the defense is doing a pretty good job. 26 in the country. Look, A&M 5-0. They're scoring 34.8, which is 42nd. Still not, still can do better. And they're giving up 21, which is 49th. Now that 21 is also skewed because of some of the earlier games here the last couple of weeks. They've been a lot better, and I think that's going to continue.
Yep.
Florida offensively, man, 223 yards passing on average, 130 yards rushing, and almost 2 turnovers every game. But this past week, and so here's to me is the big question, right? This past
Yeah.
week they turned it around. They had the best game of the season. Is that something that we think they're gonna continue, or was that just a product of facing TU?
Man, I mean, Lagway was better. Their defense was great. The defense has been solid all year. But
Defense been solid all year, but is this offense going to continue that trend? What do you think? I mean, they got the freshman Wilson, the wide receiver back. That dude is a stud. That dude is a
well,
stud.
tell you,
Um,
This is Lagway's best game.
the
21
best
of
game this year.
28,
Yeah,
almost 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. I mean, yeah, you said Wilson's back. I don't know. I mean, I don't see him. I don't see one receiver making that big a difference because the line has had problems. Lagway, I don't see Lagway's rushing to. I don't guess he ran the ball at all. And usually he's a dual threat.
Yeah, I
That's
think he's still a little banged up, so he's not quite 100%. So he's running less.
dude. I
I think it's a
if
little
they,
bit of
wouldn't have
both.
beat, if they were coming to this game against A&M and they hadn't to beat Texas, A&M would be fair by like they were against Mississippi State. It'd be like 17.
Right.
And I expect this line to move up as the game gets closer to 10, but because I think people are going to be all over A&M. I think it's low scoring.
I think it's a little bit of both in the sense that look, they play TU and TU's offense can't do squat, right? And so
Nothing. Oh
they
my God, that's awful. I
horrible,
can't believe
horrible.
it.
So I think that's part of it, but I also think that they had their best game, right? They did run the football with their running backs more than they have all year, which I think is a good recipe for them not to put everything on Lagway's shoulders. Because if you do, he's going to throw the 5 interceptions he did against LSU, right? You
Yeah,
so that running game sort of kept them honest a little bit more, and it helped him a bunch. The freshman wide receiver looked great. The dude can make plays. He's a physical specimen. He's physical for a freshman. He's big. I mean, he's a hell of an athlete. The dude is going to be one of the better wide receivers in the country over the next couple of years, I have a feeling. Maybe not at Florida because once Napier gets fired this year, who knows? But
I don't know. He might have saved his job. He beat Texas, dude. He might have saved his job.
yeah, we'll see what he does the rest of the year because one win does not make it, right? But
Yeah,
yeah, I just think I think that they did have the better game plan, but I also think the opponents here. Look, this offense, lots of three wide receiver sets. They love the play action and the boot game, and I think that's where this defense is really going to have to focus in on, right? Making sure that they're keeping their keys on those play actions, those boots, because that's when they try to hit you over the top with some of those things that they like to do, and or try to get a guy wide open in the flats coming off of a boot or things like that. So that's going to be the big part of it. No huddle. They don't fly offensively, like speed wise as far as snapping the ball, but they do snap it with 20 seconds left on the clock a lot, with 15 seconds left on the clock a lot. They're a lot faster than the Aggie offense in that sense. Misdirection, fakes, play actions are a big part of what they do. This is going to be a challenge for the Aggies. They're not as good as Notre Dame offensively, but
no, no,
but and you
no,
can look, you can get
no.
Lagway to rattle and to make some big mistakes, turnover mistakes, right? And I think
Yeah,
that's got to be your goal. You got to stop the run and force Lagway into mistakes with some pressure, don't you think?
yeah. This team reminds me a lot of the Auburn team because I mean I've watched Florida play quite a few games this year. I watched them get their ass kicked by Miami. That was a one-sided game. I watched them a little bit against LSU. I haven't been impressed. I haven't been impressed with Lagway's throwing. Hasn't been impressive. Their running game had their offensive line hasn't been great. Their defense is the only thing I saw that was above average, if that makes sense.
And I'll
Because I
tell you
mean
what,
they've been
you talk about that offensive line. I mean, you go look at a lot of the running plays that they had on Saturday. It wasn't a lot right up the middle, right? They weren't dominating up the middle. A lot of it was things that were bouncing to the outside, and they were just getting to the edges on Texas.
yeah, I mean I mean I don't want to overthink this game. I think this team is right around the Mississippi State type of team. I think if they played Mississippi State out in Florida, it'd be a really good game. I think I'd probably lean to Mississippi State because they're more consistent. Florida's just, I don't think they're consistent. I mean, they could beat A&M. Don't get me wrong, they could beat them, but I
All
don't.
right, so
They have to play their best game.
if you're Elko and you're calling this game, what's your focus here? You worried about the run? You worried about the pass? What's your focus defensively?
Well, I mean, if Lagway was healthy and running, I'd be worried about his feet. That would be my biggest concern. I'm not worried about his arm. I'd do almost the same thing I did in Mississippi State. I bring the pressure, man up on the receivers. You said this kid's a freshman receiver. He had one good game. You put one of our DBs on him. I think we shut him down and we put pressure on Lagley. I think he's going to get nervous and start throwing up picks. I've seen him do it before.
Yeah, yeah. I think you can contain the run with sort of your front, right? I don't think they get a lot of push from the middle of their offensive line. You got to be careful because the things that have hurt us previously are kind of on the edges, right? Contained. And I think they've resolved that problem the last couple of weeks. But Aggie defense, so you got to make sure that that's still the case on that end. But other than that, you're right. I mean, man up. I would put Will Lee on the freshman. I think Will Lee's size, he can be physical with that guy, and I think that's going to bother him, and make that guy go be a physical player on the outside, right? As a freshman, you think you'd have that advantage with a senior in Will Lee, that can, sort of school him out there a little bit. But I would man those guys up and yeah, let's go find out. Let's go find out. Can you block us up front, right? Are you going to be able to get us done? I don't think so.
Hey, we'll know something after this week because Florida will tell you if we're a good team or not because they play the toughest schedule in the effing nation.
Yeah.
Jesus. I mean, look at this thing. I mean, they've already played South Florida, who we might think might be the best group of five team, one of them. LSU, Miami, Texas. They got us, then Mississippi State, then Georgia. Then they get kind of a cupcake with Kentucky. And then they have Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Florida State to finish the season. I mean, damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
So,
That's tough.
yeah, that's why Napier's getting fired, right? But let's talk
He's
about
getting
this
fired
other.
because he had a tough ass schedule. Fuck.
He still tried to call it. He still called the timeout with when he's trying to run the clock out at the end of that Texas game. I mean, the guy's an idiot. So
Why'd he do that?
nobody will ever know. So Florida defense now comes in. We've talked about it. They're a good unit. Look, I think they're pretty good up front. They've got some players. They give up 196 passing and 99 rushing, right? But they don't let people score. Did they turn the corner against Texas? Because look, they had 6 sacks against Arch last week, 3 all the rest of the year, right? So is that something that they've turned the corner, or was that Arch?
Dude, we saw the game. It's Arch. The guy doesn't keep his head up. He tucks the ball almost directly after the snap.
Yeah.
He doesn't give anybody a chance to make a play downfield.
He holds the
It's
ball
just,
like crazy, doesn't he?
yeah, it wasn't good. I mean, you look at the Longhorns offense, they haven't been dominant all year. I mean, they lost to Ohio State 14-7. San Jose State, they put up 38. They put up 27 against UTEP. This is the Longhorns.
Yeah.
Their best offensive output was Sam Houston. They put up 55.
Yeah, I was not impressed with that team at all. I wasn't impressed. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't impressed with their offensive line at all. That offensive line's not good. Their receivers aren't great.
No,
And then Arch is not a difference maker in that sense either, right? He needs a lot more support and help than what he's getting. And right now he looks confused out there. He doesn't see open receivers. He doesn't, he's not going through his progressions. He feels the pressure, right? I mean, he is holding the ball way too long. I mean, there's all kinds of problems with that offense, and I don't anticipate that that's getting fixed anytime soon. But going back to this Florida defense, I do think that was a product of who they were facing. They don't bring the blitz a lot, right? They do have a pretty good group up front. Their best guy up front. They got the big defensive tackle, Borreo or whatever his name is. And the other guy, Lions, both of those guys, one's 350, the other one's about 320. Those are their two big run stoppers. But then they like to go NASCAR, right? They like to bring in the smaller guys and then play some of those guys to bring in pressure. Some, Gums and Woods are the two guys that they sort of use in that. Their best player, hasn't had is Sapp, and he's like a big, strong side defensive end, right? He's big, he's physical. He's not as much of a pass rusher as he is just a run stopper. You know what I mean?
no. I mean, like I said, I watched this team play, and the best game they played was against Texas. I mean, the defense
Yeah.
looked good. The big guys in the middle looked good. The defense was more of a bend, don't break kind of defense.
Hmm.
Teams were getting yards in the middle of the field, and
Yeah, they don't bring a lot of pressure.
No, and I don't know if that's going to work against the Aggies. I think, like I said, if we do what we we've been doing, we'll be fine. Marcel's just got to be calm down. Just Marcel can calm down and let the game come to him. When
Yeah.
everything starts slowing down for him, that's when we'll be really successful.
Yeah, the safeties do play some aggressive. They'll come down into the action some, but they got the two corners that are big guys, Moore and McLean. I mean, on the outside, I'm not sure that's a good matchup against the guys we're putting out there, right? You go throw
Hmm.
those guys in one-on-one against KC and Mario, buddy. Good luck. And that's
That's what
all
I'm
I can
saying.
tell you. Those safeties are going to have to stay back and help because you man those up or Bussy for that matter, they're going to get beat and they're going to get beat bad. I
I
think that's
agree.
our biggest
Exactly.
advantage for our offense is going to be those matchups. So that you know, I don't think they're going to be able to commit up to the run, and you're going to have to force them to do that.
So what are you saying? What are you seeing?
Yeah, look, I think. And let's talk about the prediction in this game. I
All
think
right.
our offense matches up pretty well against this defense, to be honest with you. I do. I think the matchups on the outside favor us. And so
Yeah.
they're going to be forced to play coverage. And when that happens, I think we're going to be able to run the football because ultimately, maybe not right down the middle with those two big defensive tackles when they got those guys in there, but you can get to the edges on these guys because their linebackers aren't very aggressive. They're not very fast. They don't react real quick. They're fast, smaller linebackers, but they don't react quick, right? They don't see it and react. So you're going to have the opportunity to do some things, especially if you want to bring in some misdirection and some different things with the wide receivers coming across and that kind of stuff. I think this matches up well for the A&M offense. And ultimately, I think we're going to score some points. How many? I don't know. What's your prediction?
34-13 Aggies.
Whoa. Hey, yay. I love that prediction, man. That is,
That's my prediction. That's just, I mean, I think our offense has been too consistent. I mean, we're getting 400 plus yards a game against Mississippi State, Auburn, Notre Dame. I mean, just so that game, that was a weird game, but Auburn and Mississippi State, and we're only giving up nothing. I mean, I think, what I say, 34-17 or something, or 34-13. I think that's generous giving them that much. I mean, they might get a turnover or something sloppy. I don't know. But that's just I don't see a whole lot from Florida, and I've seen a lot from A&M.
look, and I've been listening to a lot of different people, man. The national folks, Josh Pate, they all think Florida has a chance to win this game, right? They're not giving A&M
Yeah,
any
I mean,
credit.
it
They're
could be
not giving
freaky.
A&M any credit, right? And they're saying, hey, Florida's turned this around this past week against Texas, right? This is a
Right.
turnaround. This ain't just a one game thing. This was a turnaround. They really showed who they were. Like, look, I've seen this team and I've seen this team play, 5 games already. You know what
Right.
I think? I think 31-13 is pretty good. I was gonna go, you said 34-13. I'm not too far off there, but that's where I expect this game to be. I
What'd you say your score was? 30 what?
31-13.
Not bad. For
Yeah.
field goal off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you
I
like the
like it.
under, I like the over, so we're right there at the over under, huh?
Exactly. Exactly. Let's take a look around the country, Corey. Ohio State
Do it.
finds its groove with a 42-3 win over Minnesota. Look, I think that Ohio State team is starting to find itself, saying the quarterback, starting to look the part with those wide receivers and Tate and Smith. I mean, you got those kind of weapons. Well, they're starting to sling it around a little bit. Uh, and I think that defense is already really good. I think that team's going to be hard to deal with. They don't play anybody on top of that, right? This week they got Illinois. That's their toughest game remaining up until Michigan, I think. And so, if they don't lose this week, they're not going to lose, right?
Right.
Uh, Miami beats Florida State 28-22. It was a lot easier than that. Florida State kind of came in, back in, and scored a little bit at the end, but Miami pretty much dominated that game for the most part. Not really all
Yes.
that impressed with Castellanos. Not sure how they beat the mess out of Alabama in week one because that offense, man, who ran all over Alabama, didn't look good at all, to be honest with you.
Mm, I agree with you, and I'm still not Carson Beck. I'm still not sold on that guy either.
Yeah,
Miami's defense is
The
good
Miami
though.
offense didn't impress me either.
Yeah, the defense is good though.
UCLA beats Penn State. How about that one?
Penn State sucks. James Franklin's so fired. That guy, he's
Apparently they
so
can't
fired.
fire him because they owe him the buyout's like 50 million, so he's going to stick around. Um,
Wait, how much do we owe Jimbo?
More than that, but they're not A&M, baby.
Oh,
Look, yeah, Allar's not a good quarterback, man. That dude hurts that team. I mean, they don't really have the difference makers on the outside either, but man, that offense just looks pretty pathetic. And then the fact that that defense gave up what they did to UCLA, they just ran all over them. That's problematic, right? I mean, normally defense travels, right? I mean, that's sort of what you go in. Boy,
yeah.
that was embarrassing. 0-4 UCLA. Uh,
Mm.
Florida beat Texas. We talked about it 29-21. Biggest surprise was how the Florida offense beat up on the Texas defense, I thought. Arch Manning, not good. His numbers were okay. But he's just afraid to make mistakes, man, and he just doesn't look any good. How about Bama beating Vandy? Everybody's talking about how that game that was closer. I thought Bama pretty much dominated that game after the first half, and that defense especially really dominated Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the first possession or two, Vandy moved the ball down the field, scored. It was like, oh man, they're going to do this the whole game, but Alabama got their shit together and stopped them.
Tech big win over U of H, 35-11. Man, they look like the best team in the Big 12, hands down. What do you think?
I don't know. What is Cincinnati in the Big 12?
Yeah,
They look pretty good.
yeah,
I mean, they're
yeah,
not getting any love at all, but we watched them play Iowa State, and it was clear that Cincinnati was the better team.
yeah. Cincy beat Iowa State 38-30. Man, just no defense. They were able to run all over Iowa State. Yeah, that
Yeah,
quarterback
I mean,
looks good. Quarterback looks good too.
but you were saying Tech is the best team in the Big 12. I mean, there's so many teams in the Big 12 that are kind of iffy. I mean, Tech, I don't know how good Tech would be in the SEC. They're a good team. They put
I
up
think they're a good
points.
team.
Defense does good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they don't win the Big 12, but
Get ready to get surprised.
yeah, absolutely. All right,
Mm-hmm.
coming up week 6, South Florida at North Texas on as one of the early games. South Florida at North Texas. South Florida's -1.5, 67.5 over under. How about that over under?
A lot, but God dang. Who you liking that?
Isn't South Florida known for their defense?
Are they?
Yeah.
I mean, South Florida's got some marquee wins their first 2 weeks, but after that, they haven't looked that great. I mean, maybe North Texas. I don't know.
I'm thinking the under, to be honest with you, but I don't know. I mean, North Texas looked good too. They played very well, I think, but that's a nice Thursday. Is it Thursday or Friday game? I can't remember. Anyway,
Yeah,
Ohio State, Illinois. Ohio State's favored by 13.5. Do they cover
man, we saw Illinois get their asses kicked against Indiana. Where's this game at?
at Illinois?
Yeah, I think Ohio State covers.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think Illinois is going to be able to contain those two wide receivers, man. And Ohio State's defense is pretty darn good. So I think Ohio State covers that one. Bama at Mizzou. Bama's favored by 2.5 on the road.
Man, I almost like Missouri, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know who they've really played so far, but they have a top five nationally, a top five defense, and a top five offense in the nation. And they're at
Hey,
home.
they run the football, right?
Yeah, and they're at home.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I mean,
I'm kind of with you, man. I think I'd take Mizzou in that.
yeah,
How about Pitt at Florida State? Florida State's -10.5. I'll tell you a little bit something about Pitt, right? So we were watching them the other day, and boy, they look good in a win against who they beat just the other week. I can't remember, but they look pretty good.
Boston College. They beat the shit out of Boston College last week.
Yeah. And earlier in the season, they lost to West Virginia, and we talked about that, and it's like, what? That team sucks. They were playing with Holstein, a quarterback who was the transfer from Alabama. He's only a sophomore, redshirt freshman or whatever. He never played at Alabama. But he was a big time 5-star quarterback, yada yada. Well, he's no longer playing. They're playing Heinzschul instead, who's a three-star freshman or whatever.
Yeah.
And that dude freaking dominated, man. I'm not sure if Pitt doesn't come out here, and if it was at Pitt, I'd take them to win. I think they cover.
Gotcha. Maybe we put a little money on Pitt then. You sold me.
Sold me. Indiana at Oregon. Oregon's -7.5, man. This is the game of the week.
What's the over under in that?
55.5.
I like the over.
Oh, I knew you would.
That's all I can say.
I knew you would. Look, man,
I mean, I think Oregon's going to win and probably cover, but I'll take the over.
look, this game's at Oregon. If this was on a neutral site, I don't know who I would take. I was super impressed with Indiana with what they did
Against Illinois.
against Illinois.
That was ugly. That was the worst game I've ever watched. I mean, they just did whatever they wanted to.
Yeah.
Every time we watched it, and Indiana was getting a turnover or scoring a touchdown, we're like, what? What?
I think, oh man, this is such a good game. I don't know. I still think Oregon wins, but I think it's close.
I think it's Oregon too.
Georgia at Auburn. Georgia's -3.5. 46.5 over under.
I mean, I haven't watched a whole lot of Georgia this year, but I've watched Auburn. If Georgia's defense is anywhere close to A&M's, which I'm not sure if it is,
Not.
you don't think it's even that close? Really?
Dude, I don't think they've got the same guys that can put pressure on you that they used to have back in the day. I don't think they're, yeah,
You don't need to put pressure on Jackson Arnold.
good point.
You almost want him to throw the ball. You know what I'm saying? Give me Georgia. I can't believe
Yeah,
it's only 3.5.
I'd still take Georgia.
Yeah, I would too. I'm not.
How about
No.
South Carolina at LSU? LSU's -9.5, 44.5 over under.
Dude, what South Carolina team we getting? They have a good defense. They have Sellers at quarterback.
Do you even need a good defense to top LSU's offense? I don't know.
I mean, LSU's offense hasn't been that great, has it? I don't get it. Nussmeyer, whatever the fuck. But
And LSU historically has a hard time stopping running quarterbacks. I don't know. I'd take the points with South Carolina.
like the over under is only 44.5.
Yeah,
Are they begging us to take the over?
begging you.
They might have sold me. It doesn't
They
take
might,
much.
they may have. Question from the tailgate. All right, question number one. Can this team keep winning without a better quarterback play?
Yes. We have a
Agreed.
running game. We have a great defense. It's two things that, and it's not, he doesn't have to be a great quarterback play. It can be just average. We saw Georgia win 2 national championships with a guy that, what's the little white dude's name?
I think Bennett was an absolute stud in the second year that they won it. I thought he was an
Okay,
absolute.
but either way, I mean, he wasn't real flashy. He ran when he had to run. He made short throws. I mean, he didn't have the best arm. That's what I'm saying. He just made good decisions. It's all Marcel has to do is make good decisions. Don't force the ball. Calm down on your work on your technique. Work
Yeah.
on just soft toss with somebody. Don't
Look, I fully agree with you. I think this team can win without, excellent quarterback play. Now, a couple of things I will say. I think the quarterback play is going to get better. I think they're going to see the mistakes that he's making, and I think they're going
Yeah.
to adjust some of those things. I think he will continue to improve the more time he spends back there. But ultimately, as long as this defense continues to do what it's been doing the last couple of weeks, and the running game continues to do what it's done all year long, they don't need him to be a savior, right? They don't need him to be a
No.
superstar. He was that against Notre Dame, right? He came
Game.
huge against Notre Dame, and he may have another moment later in the year when he has to do that. But generally, he's not going to have to do that consistently, I don't think.
Yeah, it feels like he's trying to make the big play every play and just needs to, take your check downs when you have them. Just move the ball.
Agreed, fully agreed, and I expect him to start doing some of that. We'll see how that plays out this week because I think they're going to have opportunities there. Um, Look, you talked about changes Elko had to make with the defensive scheme. He's done some of that. We've seen that. Does Klein have to make changes to this offensive scheme in order to, make sure that we get better play out of Marcel, I guess.
No, the play calling has been great compared to last year. It was a huge issue last year. This year it's been great. We're taking more shots downfield. We've been looking for explosive plays. They're there. We're hammering the run, 51 runs or something carries last week for running plays, only 23 pass. Dude, set up the play action. Marcel's just got to sell the play action. You do that, you sell it. You got Casey and Rio running crazy and Bussy also. I mean, all Marcel needs to do is calm down, quit listening to all the what is it, rat poison or whatever the crap that is.
That's it.
I mean, he's only a sophomore or something. So I
Redshirt
mean,
sophomore.
I looked at a bunch of our guys. Rio and Concepcion. They're only sophomores and juniors. Bussy's a sophomore. Owens is a sophomore. The future's bright. Our offensive line might take some hits, but we'll be all right.
We got some depth there, and I think that we've got some guys that come in. I completely agree with you. It doesn't have to. I don't think with this offense, I don't think it has to be a big scheme change like what it was defensively. I thought there were some things that really needed to change that he needed to do to shore up some things to get those guys playing faster and looser. I think
Right.
offensively, there's there. Is it now the one thing I would like to see better is the play action game, for a team that runs the ball as well as we do, our play action is horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Garbage, you know?
It is.
Sometimes there's
It
not even a
is.
back around there when who he's faking it to. I mean, it's ridiculous, right?
You and I watched Navy and Air Force play. Those teams throw the ball deep like every other play now. It's crazy because everybody's up for the run. So they give like a little play action play, and there's these little white dudes running down the field and making just catches and just wide open. You're like, what the hell's going on? Air Force Navy. Remember that? We
Yeah.
watched it. We're like,
Oh yeah.
what's going on here, man? These guys are just going up and down the field. I
Yeah.
mean, it was crazy. That's what we need to do. That's the only reason I brought that up is if you make the game simple and run the ball 51 times, don't think Florida doesn't know we ran the ball 51 times. That's where the play action comes in. You got
Yep.
to sell it though.
He's got to sell it. He's got to turn his back to that defense, get the ball out there, put it in the belly, and then come back up and freaking go over the top, right? I think if that's one thing that I wish we could see a little bit more of. Maybe, and other than that, I mean, just continue to mix in some of those motions and handing it to the wide receivers coming across and, doing some of those things even on the goal line, faking it to that guy and then handing it off, like the misdirection stuff. But continue to do what you're doing there. But I like you said, I mean, he's had a pretty good mix. We need somehow to get a little bit of faster start. I wouldn't be mad if first play of the game on offense, you sit in there, you play action, hard play action, and then come over the top and go deep just off the bat to get them started.
I like it. I like it. I'll tell you my upset pick of the week right now is Air Force over UNLV.
Oh, oh man.
Yeah. I
Outright.
mean, we watched Air Force give Navy all they could handle last week.
They did, but they didn't win.
I'm just saying, I'm not sold on UNLV.
Yeah, you've been telling me that all season,
They're undefeated.
and they're undefeated. All right. Any last words before we break this sucker down?
Nope, just keep it up. I like the big play on the beginning of the game. I like that. I mean, I'd almost do. Who did we watch the other day? They did a end around for a touchdown. Was it an NFL game or something you and I watched? And
There was one where they did an end around flea flicker.
yeah, something weird. Like I can't remember what it was. And they caught a pass for a touchdown right off the bat. Like maybe it was college, first play of the game or something. You're like, fuck, okay.
Hey, get it
Do
started.
something like that. Something off the wall.
Yeah,
Get
I
the
love
game
it.
started right.
I love it. Well, Corey, this Aggie football team right now is doing everything we want it to do, man. This has got to be another good week at home. Keep the 12th man's been awesome. They've been keeping this team rolling. Let's keep that going and keep the home streak going. We're gonna eventually have to go on the road, but right now, man, take care of your house and then we'll figure out the rest of it later, right?
Will do.
Love it. Peace out, folks. Gig 'em, AP,
Adios.
Steve Money.